Bihari. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yogindra Bandana Shinanda Nandana Bhaja Jana Bayahari. Yogindra Bandana Shinanda Nandana Bhaja Jana Bayahari. Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamsi Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Yashoda Nandana Kamsani Sudana Nikunja Rasa Vilasi Kadamakana Rasa Parayana Brinda Vipina Nivasi. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Ananda Vardhana Prema Niketana Pula Sara Jojakargama Gopangana Gana Chita Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhamma. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Namasudara Sagao Krishna Jasarahako Vachana Manamora Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Bola Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bola Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Bola Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Bola Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Hey, Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora. Nitai Gora, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora. Radhe Radhe Govinda Gopal Radhe 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 Govinda Gopal Radhe 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 Govinda Gopal Radhe 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 Gopal Radhe. He bolo Radhe Radhe Govinda Gopal Radhe Radhe. Bolo Radhe Radhe Govinda Gopal Radhe Radhe. Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Bolo Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe Radhe Bolo Radhe Radhe Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe Radhe Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe Bolo Radhe Radhe Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Govinda Gopala Radhe 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 Bola Radhe 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Gaura Premanande Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj Ki Jai. Shinvata Swakita Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantaksto Badrani Vidunati Srihitsatam Nastaprayesu Badresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamasloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistaki Tadarajas Tamo Bhavo Kamalo Badayaschaye Cheta Etaranavidam Stitvam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana Bhukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Granti Shiyante Sarvacha Samsaya Shiyante Chaschikarmani Justa Evatmanishware Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj Ki Jai. So, these mantras are very important. And before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, we usually chant these mantras, and I'm going to tell you the meaning. This mantra, Shinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, says, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. So this is what we are doing. We're following exactly this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, verse 17. It says that when we take an interest of hearing Krishna Katha, Krishna, who is in our heart as Paramatma, he becomes very happy. And he takes a special interest in us because this is the most righteous activity, hearing the glories of the Lord. And when one hears about Krishna, Krishna acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing about him. So if you want a direct relationship with God, this is the way to do it. Come and listen to Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is Krishna speaking about himself to Arjuna. So this is called Shruti. Shruti means when God is speaking directly. Smriti means someone is speaking about God. So Bhagavad Gita is Shruti Shastra. Is Krishna is speaking about himself, explaining who he is, explaining every existential metaphysical question that Arjuna asked him. Metaphysical means questions about the nature of life, the meaning of life and reality, and what is the purpose of life. So here we have God who is speaking to us today in Bhagavad Gita. Then he says, in this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. So, in our heart, Krishna is present, and we also have the memories of previous lives, because we've been in this world for a very long time, changing bodies. So we have all that experience. And besides that, Krishna is the source of all knowledge. He says in Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 15th verse, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivisto matak smritir jnanam apahanam cha. He says, Sarvasya chaham, Hridi Sanivisto. I am in the heart of every living entity, and from me, Matak Smitir Jnanam Apohanam Cha, comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So all knowledge is originally coming from Krishna. He's in our heart, and we can open up that channel of communication between ourselves and Krishna if we develop the taste to hear. Shravanam means hearing in Sanskrit, and repeating, kirtanam. So if we hear these Vedic verses in Sanskrit and repeat them and then understand the meaning, we're directly in communion with Krishna. And Krishna takes a special interest in us because we're taking an interest in him. And he becomes our best wishing friend and begins to reveal knowledge to us. Real knowledge is revealed. What does that mean? That means that Krishna will give us the knowledge. As he says in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 10th verse. Te sam satata nitya. Prabhu, can you change the slide? Te sam satata. He says that he gives the knowledge by which we come to him. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So he says, for one who is always dedicated to me and serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. So now Krishna is going to reveal to us tonight the knowledge that we need in order to come back to him. In other words, we can be liberated from the cycle of birth and death simply by hearing this knowledge. And by knowing and assimilating this knowledge, Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvata tyakvadeham punar janma naiti mameti sarjanam. Anyone who knows the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities does not, upon approaching death, take birth again, but goes straight back to the Lord, to the spiritual world. So that's how powerful this knowledge is. And if we take a serious interest in it, we not only can be liberated ourselves from birth and death, but we can liberate our families, our friends, and anybody you meet. That's how powerful this knowledge is. Therefore it says, as the devotee hears more about Krishna from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and from the devotees, he or she becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, rajas and tamas, and thus material lust, kama, and avarice, lobha, are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. This bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamsayam samagram, understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth, personality of Godhead. So that's why we repeat these verses. They're extremely powerful verses, and they explain the whole process of bhakti, or devotional service. So tonight's lesson, you're going to put it on the board? Okay, next slide. Okay, turn this thing on. Is about the fundamental questions of life. Those fundamental questions are, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Who is God? How can I relate to God? And how can I free myself from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease? These are called metaphysical questions. Questions. So in everyone's thoughts, there are always questions and answers to the fundamental questions of life in this world. So one may ask, what is really real and what is false? Is matter real? Is spirit real? Close the lights so everyone can see. Is there gross matter? Is there subtle matter? Is there something beyond gross and subtle matter? Is there actually a spiritual world? Does a God exist? What is my duty in life? Is knowledge of God and eternal life just fairy tales to comfort sentimental persons? Do I experience reality, or am I always in an illusory state of blind ignorance? These are some of the questions that may arise in the mind of genuine searchers of the truth. Next slide. Next slide. So, the fundamental question boils down to, what is my real duty in life? Next. So, how do we go about finding out these things? The modern technique is speculation. That is, using one's reason and logic to try and figure out things. But there's a problem with that. We have imperfect senses. We make mistakes. We're easily illusioned, and we have a cheating propensity. These are 4 fundamental defects of every human being. So, therefore, no one can deny these 4 defects, and they're commonly found in all human beings. So mistakes are possible because our senses are limited and imperfect. And most mistakes are due to imperfect hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, and smelling, by which we accept a thing to be something else. For example, in the dark, one may mistake a rope to be a snake. So, if you think the rope is a snake, you become afraid and you start acting in strange ways out of fear. That's called a state of delusion. When you believe the mistake to be true, and then you start acting on it, you're acting in a deluded state. Next. Next. So, it's not possible to attain knowledge by philosophical speculation. And in life, we go through 6 phases. We're born, we grow, we maintain the body, we give off byproducts such as children, we deteriorate, and we die. So, what is the most fundamental mistake we can make? That is to think that my real identity is this body. However, the body is always changing. So we can ask, which body am I? Now, we're going to go through a little study of the body. All living beings begin by being microscopic. Go ahead, next slide. The sperm produced by men are either male or female. And it's rough, one sperm is approximately 0.002 inches long. That means you can't see it with a microscope. You can't see it with the raw eye. You would need a microscope. It's microscopic. What you can see with the raw eye is 0.0039, or twice as big as that sperm. So, therefore, that sperm is carrying you, the living entity. That's an amazing point. We never realized that our soul is actually that small. We usually have a bodily conception of our size, but our real size, according to the Vedas, is 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. So that living entity, you and me, is carried by that little sperm, and it finds an ovum. The ovum simply provides nutrients for the sperm to grow. And then once they combine, the human being begins to grow and eventually becomes a fetus, and eventually the fetus is pushed out as a baby, and the baby becomes a child, and then an adolescent, and then a mature adult, and then middle age, and then old age, and then you die. So this is called the cycle of life. And this is a cycle that everyone goes through, but we don't really realize it. We know it's happening, but we're trying to not really deal with it. And what happens? We cannot say that we are the body because it's always changing. But we can say that we are the observer of the changes of the body. That's something that we can say. Next slide. So, the conscious awareness of the changes indicate that we're different than the body. Whatever you see, you're different than that thing. Like I see this book, so I'm different than the book. I see my hand, it means I'm different than my hand. Right? So I'm the seer and the object is the seen by the process of seeing. Therefore, these three things, the seer, the seen, and the process of seeing have been supplied to us. We didn't create them. They've been given to us. So one can ask the question, who made this arrangement? Who made this arrangement by which a soul is microscopic and it enters into an ovum and it begins to grow? And at every stage, the body is changing. Unless we understand this, we remain in ignorance. And it's a very complicated process with millions of functions that are coordinated. So who set up this complicated program? Next. One can't arrive at true knowledge by using the imperfect senses to speculate about such complicated and perfectly coordinated processes that baffle the mind of the human being. There are mystical factors at play that cannot be explained by mere speculation and limited experimentation. Next. There is mysticism at the foundation of human existence. This is a point that we should carefully think about. The Vedas explain that the actual size of the soul is less than atomic, less than an atom. Balagra satabhagasya satada kalpitasya cha. This is a verse from the Svetastara Upanishad. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each such part is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. So in other words, our soul, meaning you and me, we are actually 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. Now, you can understand what that means, but you can't do it. You can't divide a hair 10,000 times, right? And even if you did, you would not be able to see it. So we're dealing with something that's mystical. Every time you try and go to the origin of life, you end up with mystical power that baffles you or confuses you. Next. This soul is so small, but yet it spreads consciousness all through the body. This is another amazing thing. It shows how powerful that little microscopic point is. It can spread this consciousness all through the body. Now, this consciousness is not a material thing. How do we know that? Well, let's say you're observing a person right before they die. They're still alive. Then they die, and you see that there's something missing in the body. What's missing in the body? The life, the consciousness of the person. So, if you weigh the body before death and you weigh it after death, you'll see it's approximately the same weight. Now, after sometimes, it becomes lighter, and then after a little more time, it becomes heavier, you see. Again, it's confusing. Now, if you think that the person is just a combination of chemicals, scientists are very clever. I mean, they can measure and they can identify all the chemicals in the body. And they can try and identify all the chemicals after death in the body, and they can shoot the body with those chemicals. The person will still not come back to life. In other words, life is not a material phenomenon. It's a non-material phenomenon. And Krishna says that, he says, that which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So you can't destroy something that you can't see. And something that is so small that you would not be able to perceive it, except by its symptoms. Just like if I put cyanide in your lassi and you drink it, you can't taste it. It has no taste. You know why? Because people don't live long enough after drinking it to recognize the taste. That's how lethal cyanide is. In other words, as soon as it touches your tongue, very quickly you die. Right? So the scientists say cyanide doesn't have a taste, because anyone that tries to taste it will die immediately. You see? So you can't taste it, but you know you drank it. How do you know? You start choking to death and you die very quickly. So there are many things we do not see, we cannot identify them or smell them or taste them, but we know that they exist by the effect they have. In the same way, we can know that there is a non-material soul in the body by the effect it has. In a living body, it fills it with consciousness, and in a dead body, it's absent. So it is something that is mysterious. We can only understand it when we study Bhagavad Gita. You cannot understand it simply by experimental knowledge. Although, by experiment, you can understand the difference between a dead body and a live body. So you know that there's something different. Next. One cannot see the soul, but everyone knows it is present in the body by the consciousness present in the body. The body minus consciousness is dead, which means the soul is no longer present. The body is simply a material vehicle that is driven by the soul, similar to a car driven by a living person. The material body vehicle moves because there is a soul present in the heart, and all the energies for bodily movement emanate from the heart of the living being. Blood corpuscle cells, which carry oxygen from the lungs, receive energy from the soul. If the soul leaves the body at death, the production of blood cells ceases. Now, for example, every person, on an average, produces 200 billion blood cells, blood corpuscles, every day. And after 1 week, it equals 1 pint of blood. Next. This is mysterious and an incredible natural process. Why is it incredible? Because life is sustained by this blood. And no one has been able to reproduce human blood. They can reproduce something, when I mean reproduce, starting with materials like chemicals. No one has ever been able to make blood. But they can make a limited amount of blood, and not blood that is equal to human regular blood, but they can use stem cells from a human being to make a small amount of blood. If you took all the natural blood out of someone and replaced it with that blood, the person would die. But it is used on American soldiers in an experimental way. They don't replace all the blood with this manufactured blood, but they can use it to a certain extent to save a person's life, right? But if you replace the blood with this artificial blood, the person would die, right? So the way they make this, let's call it manufactured blood, is with stem cells. In other words, you begin with something living to make something else living. They've never been able to start with chemicals to make blood. Impossible. If anyone ever did that, they would become the richest person in the world. Right? Okay, so next. Producing blood from human blood stem cells is a process beginning with living cells produced by human beings, used to produce more living cells. Life comes from life and not from dead matter or chemicals. Whenever there is an attempt to find the origin of life, the scientists are confounded by a display of incredible mystic power at the source of creation. They can see the creation of red blood cells under the microscope, but they cannot reproduce it from dead matter or chemicals. The mystery of how matter is transformed into living cells is beyond their observation and experimentation, because there is a non-material living entity that seems to give life and consciousness to matter, although matter by itself is dead. The dimension of the living entity is beyond the scope of the scientist's perception. Therefore, they cannot understand the mystery, although they can see the effect, life and consciousness. Next. The soul of the soul is the real source of life. What does that mean? That means that in this body, Krishna says, there are two souls. There's your individual soul, and there's Krishna as Paramatma. The Paramatma is the source of all life and energy. So, even if the scientists could observe the individual minute soul, their research would still be incomplete, and they would remain befuddled by the mystic power. The real source of all energy of life comes from the Supersoul, or Krishna's expansion into the heart of every living being, and into every material atom of the universe. This is confirmed by Lord Brahma, the first and most intelligent living being in the universe. Next. Lord Brahma says, Ekopya so rachayaton jagadanda kotim, yaschaktir asti jagadanda chaya yadanta, andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam, govindam aripurusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Brahma says, he, meaning the individual, meaning Krishna, is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. So Lord Brahma says that Krishna can expand himself in a mysterious way and be present in every atom of the universe. And that is why everything works in nature. Nature is self-sustaining. No matter how much human beings try and contaminate nature or pollute it, still it's self-sustaining, and it continues in spite of whatever the human beings do. They can use atomic bombs, they can use radiation or whatever, still nature will continue. Now, next. His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj has given the following commentary on this verse. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the guru of Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is the highest of all entities. In him is an entity which is termed Chit, or spiritual, which is distinct from the principle of limitation. So this Chit Shakti, which is an internal energy of the Lord, is infinite. It has no end to it. By his inconceivable power, he can at will create numberless universes. All the mundane universes owe their origin to the transformation of his external potency. Again, his abode is beyond human conception, since all worlds, limited and spiritual, exist in him, and he resides simultaneously in his fullness and entirety in all the atoms in all the worlds. So in other words, these are mutually contradictory qualities that Krishna has. He is independent, and he's enjoying in the spiritual world with his devotees. At the same time, he expands himself as the Narayana expansions in the spiritual world. He expands himself as the Vishnu expansions in the material world. As the Vishnu expansions, as Kshiro Dakshay Vishnu, he's present in every atom of the universe, as well as in the heart of every living entity. Right now, you are carrying Krishna in your heart. He's Paramatma. And he's the witness of everything we're doing. That's why we're subject to the law of karma. We cannot escape the law of material nature, of action and reaction, because there's a witness, and the witness is Krishna. Next. All pervasiveness is only a localized aspect of the majesty of Krishna. In other words, Krishna is all pervasive. He's in every atom. He's in the heart of everyone. But that's only one aspect of him. He has many other potencies or energies that are inconceivable to us. Though he's all pervasive, yet in his existence everywhere in the medium shape consists his spiritual lordship beyond human conception. This argument favors the doctrine of simultaneous, inconceivable distinction and non-distinction, and knocks down the contaminating Mayavada philosophy and other allied doctrines. This means that Krishna is simultaneously one and inconceivably different. We are expansions of Krishna. The entire material creation is an expansion of Krishna. All the Vishnu incarnations are expansions of Krishna. All the incarnations such as Rama, such as Parasuram, such as Vamana, such as Matsya, they're all expansions from Krishna. All the Narayana expansions are coming from Krishna. Everything is coming from Krishna, and Krishna is never diminished. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate. He's perfect and complete, and everything that comes from him is also perfect and complete. And even though infinite, perfect and complete unities are emanating from him, he remains perfect and complete. This is inconceivable for us. That's why there's a major difference between us and Krishna. Next, everywhere in nature, the scientists are seeing this, and they're confounded by it. The mystery of Lord Krishna's expansion as the supersoul present in every atom of the universe explains why the material creation is self-sustaining, regardless of whatever human beings do. There are many cycles in nature that attest to the superior intelligence and control of Krishna. For example, there are three main cycles that balance the Earth's ecosystem. One is the water cycle, 2 is the carbon cycle, and 3 is the nitrogen cycle. If you've ever studied science, these are explained. These cycles work together to carry away waste materials and replenish the Earth's ecosystem with nutrients to sustain life. If there's any disruption or imbalance of these three cycles, it would be disastrous for sustaining life on this planet. Next. This is the nitrogen cycle. We won't go into the science of it right now. Next. This is the carbon cycle. In other words, the carbon cycle, you have carbon dioxide in the air. It's absorbed by plants. They use the energy of the sun and photosynthesis, and they bring up water with their roots and carbon dioxide from the air and the energy of the sun, and they produce glucose and release oxygen. So it purifies the air, right? And then the glucose becomes a source of energy for human beings and for animals. Anyone that eats these green plants or grains, they're nourished by the glucose. The glucose also transforms into other forms of energy, and when these plants are compacted over millions of years in the earth, and you can see that there's fossils and fossil fuels and all these things, it produces oil, gas, or coal. That coal or oil or gas are the products of photosynthesis of plants. And therefore, that compacted energy, when you burn it, it releases energy, and it makes the factories work, it makes your car run, and so forth. That's called the carbon cycle. Next, this is the water cycle. The sun evaporates water from the ocean, and it becomes a cloud, and then because of the sun's temperature, cold air on the bottom, hot air on the top, then the cloud starts moving. It produces wind, and then the wind moves the cloud. Each cloud weighs approximately 1 million pounds. How come it doesn't crush us? Because the water is dispersed so finely that each microscopic drop of water is buoyed up by the air below. So it is a mechanical miracle, an engineering miracle, how these clouds carry so much weight, but yet they don't crush anything. And they move thousands of miles. And then when the pressure is changed due to changing temperature, the droplets become thicker, and then they fall down as rain. And then they fall as rain or snow, like right now it's snowing in the mountains and the Cascades, and it becomes ice. And then when spring comes, the ice melts, it comes down as rivers and waters. It fills the groundwater also. Eventually it goes back to the ocean, and then the cycle returns. Keeps going. Who did this? Who set up this very complicated system? And it's not just one system. Next slide. There are other cycles in nature, such as the phosphorus cycle, the climate cycle, oxygen cycle, sulfur cycle, rock cycle, menstrual cycle. Who did all this? Who set these perfect cycles up for sustaining life? Nothing happens by accident like this. And they're all coordinated, you see. And it's all for sustaining life on this planet. There are many more known and unknown cycles that mysteriously sustain and energize life on the earth. They also mysteriously work together, which attests to superior intelligence-based coordination. This is only possible because of the presence of the Supersoul, Lord Krishna's expansion, in every atom and in the heart of every living entity. Next. So there's another cycle that the scientists haven't studied yet, but the Vedas have studied it. It's called the karma cycle. The karma cycle is all about action and reaction. So the karma cycle also gives rise to what's called the cycle of suffering. But I'm not going to explain that right now. We're going to go more into the karma cycle, and I'll explain the cycle of suffering later. Next. Not only is the Lord present in every atom in the universe, He's also present in the heart of every living being, and is also directing the wanderings of everyone. This means that the Lord helps every being to act. It's similar to a car manufacturer who builds a machine or a car that is capable to be driven. The manufacturer makes the car capable of being driven by a person according to the person's desires, to go anywhere or somewhere. Similarly, the Lord supplies a vehicle, meaning this body, to every living being so that he or she can perform the functions of life such as eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The body has been given to us. Just like you buy a car, you buy a new Ford or Toyota, and you sit in it, and it works. And wherever you want to go, it takes you there. It goes forward, it stops, it goes backward, and it's a functioning machine. The body is exactly the same thing. It's simply a functioning machine. The only reason it looks alive is because of the battery. What's the battery? It's the soul and the super soul present in the heart. If you have a cell phone that doesn't have a battery, does it work? Does it work, Prabhu? No, right? If you have a car that doesn't have a battery, it might be in perfect shape, brand new, but if it doesn't have a battery, does it work? No. The body also doesn't work when there's no battery in it. The battery is the soul and the super soul. Both are keeping the body alive. As soon as the soul leaves the body, it stops working. Next. This is stated in the Vedas. Katha Upanishad 1.2.20. Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Both the super soul, Paramatma, and the atomic soul, Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body. within the same heart of the living being, and only one who has become free from all material desires, as well as lamentations, can, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, understand the glories of the soul. So, this is why so many people don't understand the soul. Anyone who is subject to sochati and kankshati will never be able to understand the soul. What is sochati? It's lamentation. What is kankshati? It's desires. So long as we have material desires, and as long as we have lamentation because we cannot keep or cannot realize our desires, or we lose the objects of our desires, we are in such a disturbed state of mind that we have no interest or any capacity to understand spiritual knowledge, understand what we're explaining right now. Unless one rises above lamentation and material desire, it's impossible to understand spiritual knowledge. Now, becoming free of material desire does not mean having no desires. It means purifying the desires and having only desires to please Krishna. Material desires are selfish desires to please ourselves. It's called aham mameti in Sanskrit. I, me, and mine. People see the world in terms of I, me, and mine. Everything belongs to me. This is mine. That's mine. And when they lose something, they begin to cry and lament. Like when your stocks go down and your 401k goes down, what do? Do you celebrate? No. You're not happy at all. When you lose your job, do you go out and celebrate? No. You're unhappy. When someone insults you, are you happy? No. See? So whoever is lamenting and whoever has material desires will never, and the word is never, N-E-V-E-R, understand spiritual knowledge. You have to rise above this. Therefore, there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 55th verse, which says, Brahmabhuta pasanatma na sochati na kanksati samak sarve sabhutesu mad bhaktim labate param. Very important verse. It says someone who is Brahmabhuta, a liberated person, is prasanatma, has satisfaction simply by virtue of acquired spiritual knowledge and realization. Not by acquired money and power, but acquired knowledge and realization. They're satisfied in themselves. They're not missing anything. They're not missing going to the nightclub. They're not missing seeing a movie. They're not missing by hearing about politics. They're not missing the cricket game. They're not missing the stock market. They're not missing any of these things because they're satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization of who they are and how to attain their real destiny of becoming free of birth, death, old age, and disease. Next. Krishna expands as Paramatma in the heart of every living being, and thus he's smaller than the soul of the living being because he's present as the soul of the soul. So even if you could see your soul, which is less than microscopic, you still wouldn't be able to see Krishna. Because he's smaller than that. That's why he says, Anor Aniyan, Mahato Mahiyan. But yet, he's greater than the greatest. Because he expands himself as Virat Rupa, the universal form that contains the whole material creation. So, he's bigger than anything we can see, and he's smaller than anything we can see. So how are you going to understand Krishna? You can only understand him if you develop the bhava of Mother Yasoda. Mother Yasoda loves Krishna so much that he agrees to be tied up by her. And he's afraid of her. His kajal, or his surme, or his... kajal is the black ointment, right? That's like a cosmetic. It's dripping down his eye because he's crying, and it's dripping down on his cheek, and he's shaking. Now, Yamaraj is afraid of Krishna. How come Krishna is shivering and he's crying because his mother tied him up? You see, this is the great mystery. That's why in the month of Damodar, we recite the Damodar Astakam prayers and we meditate on that scene as we see it here. Her mother Yasoda has tied up Krishna with her love. Krishna is Ajita. No one can conquer him, but he's conquered by the love of Mother Yasoda. Therefore, she's number one top devotee of Krishna. No one is able to do that. Okay. Therefore, we should meditate on that. That pastime of Krishna can liberate you from birth and death if you enter into the bhava, or the emotional feelings of Mother Yasoda. So, each living entity, in whatever material body they may have at present, including human beings, animals, insects, reptiles, birds, aquatics, meaning fish, plants, etc., were souls originally in the spiritual world. But somehow, some living entities chose to separate themselves from Lord Krishna due to their errant or let's say, criminal desire to dominate and exploit and enjoy material nature independent of God. So there's a saying in Sanskrit, the cause is in the effect. What does this mean? The cause is in the effect. It means that what we did originally, rejecting Krishna in the spiritual world and due to envy and wanting to control and dominate nature so that we can be a little Krishna in this world. Just like you have little Bezos and little Buffett and little Gates. All these people are acting like they're God. They have so much money. They control the destiny of so many people. They have these big companies. But actually, they are controlled by the material nature, by birth, death, old age, and disease. No matter how much money they have, they're not going to escape Yamaraj. They're not going to escape old age. They're not going to escape disease and eventually death, and then rebirth again. So, we were originally with Krishna, and whoever's here in the material world, we revolted against God. We became envious, and we come here to try and emulate or copy Krishna. However, what we did originally, we're doing every day. Just like now you're hearing this class. After the class, you'll go home, and you'll forget everything you heard. Is that true or not true? It's true. Yeah, it's true. You'll forget everything. You know, this is called. There's another saying for this in Hindi. They say, "Smasan Vairagya." You know what is this? Smasan? The crematorium. It's Vairagya. It's renunciation of the crematorium. When you go to a crematorium and you see someone that you love, and they say Ram Ram, and they push the body into the oven, and then they close the door and then they push the button and the fire comes up, right? And people think, oh my God, that'll be me one day. And they get real sober, right? And they cry, and they say, you know, I got to figure out what this life is all about, you know, because that's going to happen to me also. But as soon as they go out, someone says, oh, we're going to miss him very much. He said, yeah. Oh, by the way, next week there's a birthday party. Can you come? Oh, yeah, okay. Where is it? It's up in Everett. Oh, no problem. You know, I'll drive up from Olympia. No problem. Yeah. Now, there are many people in Olympia. Sometimes I invite them to come to the temple. You know what they say? Oh, it's too far away. But to go to the party up in Everett, they'll do it. They'll drive up from Olympia all the way to Everett to go to the party. You see, this is called Smasan Vairagya. It's not real Vairagya at all. It's just a show. There's no Vairagya. There's no change of life. As soon as they walk out, they forget about it. It's just like as soon as you walk out of the class tonight, you probably forget about it. One time someone asked the person who listened to the class, how was the class? He said, it was great. He said, What did he say? He said, hey, he talked about Krishna. He said, can you tell me one thing you said about Krishna? No. You see, they can't remember one thing. That is our disease. And after the class, people will go out and they'll sin again. They'll do the same thing, forget Krishna and so forth. So, okay, so the desire, this desire to be independent of God is the cause of the fall down from the spiritual world and from our position as eternal servants of Krishna. Thus, according to our desires to dominate and enjoy nature, we're placed in one of the 8.4 million species of life. Each species of life has a different karma. Next, and then we'll stop with this. This cycle of karma, or karma cycle, is due to material consciousness, by which a person desires to be an independent enjoyer rather than the servant of God. Due to this mentality, one goes up or down in the cycle of karma through the different species of material life, with the eternal soul entrapped in a temporary material body. In every species, the Lord accompanies the living entity by being present within the heart. Krishna explains his oversight of the living being in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 23rd verse. Upadasthana mantra cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti chapi yukte dehe smin purishak para. Next one. So, anyway, Krishna is witnessing everything we do. We should become serious tonight and think deeply about this. If we go back to where we started earlier, Shinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantaksto Badrani Vidunati Shrihit Satam. This is first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, verse number 17. It says, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, that's what we just did. We heard about Krishna from the Vedic literatures, right? Or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, which is what we're doing. We're hearing about Krishna right now from the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. So in other words, this is punya. It's righteous activity. Simply sitting down and hearing this is righteousness. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart as Paramatma, acts as a best-wishing friend and purifies the person who listens, or the devotee, who continues to hear about him constantly. In other words, if you keep coming back and keep hearing this Vedic knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna becomes your best-wishing friend. Then what happens? He purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, the devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. In other words, we all have knowledge of Krishna in our heart because we were all with Krishna. We were in the spiritual world originally. So we have all that in our heart, in the memory. But because of sochati and kanksati, lamentation and material desires, there's a cloud in our brain and a cloud in our heart. We can't access. It's just like a person who goes to jail for murder. But in jail, he gets in a fight with another prisoner, and the other prisoner hits him over the head with a metal chair, and he knocks him out. And when he wakes up, he says, "Where am I? Who am I? What's going on here?" He can't remember who he is. He has complete amnesia. And when they tell him, "You're in jail," he says, "Wait a minute. I want to speak to the warden." They say, "Why do you want to speak to the warden?" He said, "I'm being held illegally. I don't remember ever doing anything wrong. Therefore, you should let me out." Now, what do you think the warden's going to answer him? No, he's going to answer, "You can't remember, but we have a dossier like this on you. So you're going to stay in jail, you see. Now, we can't remember leaving Krishna. We can't remember all the different bodies we've had previously. But the fact that we're subjected to birth, old age, disease, and death means that we're prisoners. We are prisoners. Now, Krishna says, if you take an interest to hear about him on a regular basis, he becomes your best wishing friend. And he will release that knowledge that's inherent in your heart for you, for your benefit. Anything precious is something that's kept a secret. But when you become friends with the person that knows the secret, they release it. They let you into the secret. So you want to have Krishna as your best friend. Just continue to hear Bhagavad Gita. Don't stop. Don't listen to the news. Don't listen to politics. Don't listen to money market strategies, whatever. Just keep hearing about Krishna. And Krishna will bless you. Te sam satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. For one who is devoted to me and is always thinking about me and is serving me with love, I give them the knowledge by which they come to me. If you remember one thing from tonight, it's this last verse. Krishna will give you the knowledge by which you become completely enlightened. When you become completely enlightened, you connect to the Krishna network. Just like you connect to the Google network, the Yahoo network, there's a Krishna network. This Krishna network is in your heart. Just like Sanjaya, he's speaking in Bhagavad Gita. He's telling Dhritarashtra what's happening 200 miles away in Kurukshetra in real time, word for word. How can he do that? There was no internet, there was no Yahoo, there was no Amazon. None of that stuff was there 5,000 years ago. How can he do it? Because he connected to the Krishna network, which is an internal network. The Lord of the universe is in your heart. And if you connect with him, he'll reveal everything to you. You don't have to study. You just have to purify the mind and the heart of two things. Sochati and Kankshati. Lamentation and material desires. You replace the material desires with spiritual desires, and the lamentation goes away because you're beginning to taste nectar. It's like this. Let's say there's a glass and someone throws dirt in it. And you pour water to drink it, but you don't want to drink it because it's mixed with the dirt. So what do? You continue to pour water from the faucet into the glass. And then as more water goes in, the water comes out with the dirt. And eventually you have pure water in the glass. Then you can drink it. So in the same way, for many years, people have been putting junk in our ears, in our eyes, our mouth, and our nose. These are all holes of the body, right? Junk has been going in, and they're all impurities. So how to get rid of the junk? You just come here every week or every day, and you take the amritam, katam amritam of Krishna consciousness, and just pour it into the ear, and it'll flush out all the junk in the brain, and all of a sudden you'll have a pure brain full of katam amritam. It's a very simple process. It's not complicated. It just depends how much you respect yourself. If you respect yourself, then you won't waste 1 second anymore listening and thinking about nonsense. You'll spend every second of your life katam amritam, right into the ear. Katam amritam, seeing the deity. Katam amritam, tasting the Mahaprasadam. Katam amritam, bowing down to the deity. See? And then you become purified. You become a new you, and you attain actual peace. Just like everyone is saying, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pasyantu, ma kaschit dukhabhak bhavet, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Everybody wants Shanti, because without Shanti, without peace, you can't be happy. And Krishna says this, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya, nacha yuktasya bhavana, nacha bhavayatak santir, asantasya kutasukam. One who has no relationship with Krishna or God cannot have a steady mind and good intelligence, without which one has no peace. If the mind is always disturbed, always saying, do this, do that. No, I don't like this, I like this. No, I don't like that, I like this. I want to live in America. No, I don't want to live in America. I want to live in India. No, I don't like India anymore. I want to come back to America. You never can be peaceful like that, with an unsteady mind and unclean intelligence. But once you get a connection to Krishna, the mind becomes steady and the intelligence becomes purified, then you have peace. And when you have peace, then you can taste amritam, eternal happiness. See? This is the formula. Katam amritam, right into the ear, as much as possible. Then you're going to be the person that you want to be. Someone who's happy, someone who's never disturbed by even the most disturbing circumstances, because they have such a deep well of love for Krishna that nothing can disturb it. Just like so many rivers are pouring into the ocean is never disturbed. And the same way, you will never be disturbed, you'll be steady, and you go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nita Gol, Hari Bol, Nita Gol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nita Gol, Nita Gol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nita Gol, Hari Bol, Nita Gol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jayo Jayo Gora Chande Arati Ke Soba Kiba Jayo Jayo Gora Chande Arati Ke Soba Jagamana Loba Janavika Tavane Jagamana Loba Kibadaki Daya Chan Manganana Jagamana Loba Jagamana Loba Ibaboshi Na Chingora Jande Arati Ratna Singashane Yatvoshi Achingora Chan Ratna Singashane Aroti Korina Brahma Aditeva Dane Aroti Korina Brahma Jayo Jaya Gora Chande Arati Ke Soba Jagamana Loba Ibanada Hare Hare Kari Chamaraj Raya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Gosa Adidaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Gosa Adidaya Jayo Jaya Gora Chande Pratike Soba Jayo Jaya Gora Chande Pratike Soba Jadami Jadavane Jadavana Lopa Jadami Jadavane Jadavana Lopa Kubashanka Bhaje Kanta Bhaje Bhaje Karakala Madhura Gitanya Bhaje Paramarasala Madhura Jayo Jaya Gora Chande Aditike Soba Jadavane Jadavana Loba Jadavane Jadavana Loba Shanka Bhaje Shanka Bhaje Madhu 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 Bhaje 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 Madhu 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 Bhaje Madhu 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 Bhaje Bolo Madhu 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 Bhaje Bolo Madhu 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 Bhaje Bolo Madhu 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 Bhaje Bolo Shankar Bhaje Shankar Bhaje Madhu 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 Bhaje Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Baho Jyoti Chandra Jini Vadana Uspala sevana mala Hare jala mala Jayo Arati ke loga jayo Arati ke shoga bolo jagani jagavane jagamana loga jayo Shiva Shiva Bhaje Ganga Bhaje Shiva Shiva Sukha Narada Preme Gada Gada Agati Vinoda Deke Kurada Sampada Kurada Sampada Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladayine. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladayine. Hiranyakashi Rupakshaha Kilatam Kanakalaye. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nrsimha. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nrsimha. Vahi Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha Narashinha Madhim Saranam Prapade. Vahi Tavakara Kamala Varelakam Adita Shinyam Kalita Hiranya Kasipu Dhanudinna Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jaya Jagadesha Hare. Adita Hiranyakashipu Dhanudrinyam Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jaya Narasingha Jaya, Narasingha Jaya, Narasingha Jaya, Narasingha Jaya. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaur Premanande ki jai, Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajika Tadasatadashi Shishimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem Shikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So tonight we want to thank very much Shushanta Sengupta on the occasion of the memory of her mother, Koli Sengupta. They have donated $100 tonight for the first year anniversary or ceremony of their mother's passing away. May Koli Sengupta be blessed by Krishna. We also want to thank Anchal and Divya on the occasion of Divya's birthday. And they're going to be sponsoring on the 14th of November. And then His Grace His Grace Harivilas Prabhu, the author of the Jewel of Ramayana, will be speaking here Monday night at 7:30 to 9 p.m., November 13th. And then next Tuesday and Wednesday we have the visit of another very nice Vaishnava devotee, Govinda Prabhu from Chopadi, India. He's going to speak on Tuesday and Wednesday evening here. Next Sunday we have Go Puja and Havan or Homam at our farm in Redmond from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So there'll be a grand worship of or respect given to our cows, especially